Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a brand new video. It's been a little while since I did a voiceover style video, but in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you guys all of the things that I batch cooked in preparation for baby boy's arrival. I did this before Avery was born as well, and it definitely helps having some meals in the freezer. The first meal to store away in the freezer was a batch of bolognese. I was actually making a double batch here so that we could have some for dinner this night as well. That was actually something I did a few times in the lead up to baby's arrival, was make a double batch of whatever we were having for dinner that night so that I could put some away in the freezer. It just cut back on the work that way. It might actually be something that I continue to do in the future as well, just because having some meals in the freezer makes life really convenient, especially on those busy evenings. So I tend to keep my bolognese fairly simple. Spaghetti bolognese is definitely a favourite for most of us in our house, except Josh. He does not like spag bol, which is just insane to me. But I used beef and pork mince in this bolognese, and I just fried that up and then added some seasonings, just some salt, pepper and onion powder. For veggies, I just add some carrots chopped up really small, and then also some black olives. This might be a bit weird for bolognese, but it's something I've been doing for a really long time. I really love olives and I really enjoy them in a bolognese, but that's all I use for veggies. Then I add a couple of tins of tinned tomatoes. Then I add my seasonings. So for bolognese, I always tend to use the same things, and that is garlic powder, onion powder, Italian seasoning, and then I also add a stock cube and some honey or sometimes some sugar. It just helps to bring out the flavours. For the amounts of all of the seasonings, I just eyeball it and kind of taste as I go. I'm a big fan of strong Italian flavours though, so I probably use more than is needed. With bolognese, the longer it's left to simmer, the better it usually tastes. So I just let that simmer for a while, and then once we had had our dinner, I bagged up the rest and popped that in the freezer. I would like to mention as well, I was very heavily pregnant at this point. We had just moved house, so the batch cooking had to wait. I was lucky that I managed to do it at all, to be honest. This day was a Saturday and my C-section was scheduled for the following Tuesday. So literally just days away. So I was definitely cutting it close. The next day, and this is what I dedicated as my batch cooking day. I was literally in the kitchen from 8 AM until gone 6 PM this day. I decided to kickstart the morning with all of my sweet foods, and the first thing that I actually made was some homemade granola. I love granola, especially on top of some plain vanilla yogurt and some sliced up banana. It's just a really good and nutritious breakfast as well, and granola is super easy to make, so I figured why not. The key components to this granola were just oats, vegetable oil, honey and maple syrup, and also a pinch of salt. Beyond that, you can really customize this any way you want. I keep mine simple. I do not like dried fruits or anything like that, so I just added nuts and also some flaxseed or milled flaxseed because it's supposed to be good for breast milk production. And then I just mix all of that together and then squash it onto some lined baking sheets. I do like to pack mine quite tight because I like the kind of chunkier pieces of granola once it's done in the oven. And then it literally just goes in the oven until golden. It is that simple. In terms of quantities, there are so many granola recipes online. I literally just picked one and followed the quantities. But granola would be a really difficult one to mess up. It's really, really easy. Like I said, I do prefer chunkier granola, so I break mine up into bigger pieces. Then I added some chocolate chips just to add a little bit more sweetness, and popped as much as I could into my granola jar, and the rest of it went into a freezer bag to store in the freezer. I will say that next time I make granola, I will probably bake it for a little bit longer because it was a little bit soggy for my liking. I prefer it a little bit more crunchy, but still edible, and it is still really good on top of my yogurt. I decided to make lactation bites or protein bites next, mainly because it's really similar ingredients to granola and it meant I didn't need to wash my bowl in between. I followed the recipe from the Baker Mama online and I will link that recipe down below for you guys. The only thing I didn't add was brewer's yeast, mainly because it's not that easily accessible in the shops in the UK and it is quite expensive online, so I just skipped that step. The rest of the ingredients in these bites are still really good for breast milk production, and I really enjoy these. I keep them in the freezer and I eat them straight from the freezer. They're a little bit harder to bite, but they're really refreshing and they're really yummy. Next, I was making some fajita filling bags. This was actually something I decided to freeze raw because I thought once defrosted it'd be really simple to just throw it on a baking sheet and bung it in the oven. I'm again making a double batch here because I'm popping one bag in the fridge for tomorrow night's dinner and then popping the other one in the freezer for after the baby's born. For the bags, I'm just slicing up some red onions and also slicing up some bell peppers, just a few different colours, and I will be adding this to a bowl with some diced chicken, and then I'll throw in some fajita mix. This is just a mix that I got from a fajita pack. I couldn't find individual fajita seasoning packets in the shop, so I just bought the packs, but it's fine because it meant we had the wraps there as well. I did add a little bit of extra seasoning. I added some extra cumin and also some paprika and some salt and pepper as well. Then I just mixed all of that together. I just used my hand with a glove on. I am the kind of person that gets grossed out by touching raw meat, and just popped that into a bag. The next meal was a classic cottage pie, so my first job was to peel the mammoth bag of potatoes and get them on the boil. I then fried up some onions and cooked off my beef mince, and once that was cooked I added my peas and carrots. The carrots were actually the same ones I chopped the day before for the bolognese, so that saved me a bit of time. Then I added some gravy granules and some boiling water and just brought that to the consistency that I wanted it. Once again, this was a double batch, so I put this into 2 dishes. One was for tonight's dinner and then the other one was to go in the freezer, although I probably could have made 3 out of this. The dish was a little bit overloaded, but that's fine. I mashed my potatoes once they were finished boiling and then just added them to the top of my mince and gravy mixture and then added cheese on top. Next, I decided to make some savoury breakfast muffins. I was inspired by the McDonald's McMuffins and I decided to try and make the sausage patties myself. So to do this, I just took the sausage meat out of the casing and then rolled the meat into, I guess, like a sort of patty burger shape. Then for the egg, I thought it would be the easiest to make sort of like an omelette slash scramble and then cut these up into squares to pop onto each muffin. I decided to do half sausage and half bacon, and I also added a slice of cheese on each one and wrapped these individually. More so for Josh, he is a cooked breakfast kind of person, so I thought it would be easy for him to be able to grab 1 or 2 of these out of the freezer each morning, so he had a nice breakfast that he could enjoy. I will say though, only 11 actually made it to the freezer. Lastly, I made some sweet and sour meatballs. This recipe was from All Recipes online. It's another one that I can leave linked for you down below. The most time consuming part for this recipe was rolling up the meatballs. Once I had done that though, I decided to cook them off in the oven and then I mixed up the sauce. Like I said, I will leave the recipe down below. I decided not to cook the sauce. I literally just put the cooked meatballs and the sauce in a bag in the freezer. and then when we come to cook it, I can pop all of that into a saucepan and then the sauce can cook then. There are a few things that I didn't film. I have a corned beef hash and also 2 lasagnas in the freezer as well, and I also decided to make up some cookie dough, so whenever we fancy a freshly baked cookie, all we have to do is pop that in the oven. And that is everything. We have 7 dinners, breakfasts and snacks all prepped, ready for baby boy's arrival. So I hope you enjoyed batch cooking with me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.